Vikings offensive coordinator Wes Phillips directed criticism towards players that decided not to follow the recommendations of wearing 7-stud cleats last week against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. The results? Significant slippage. You saw that from guys like Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Eric Kendricks, Ezra Cleveland, Chandon Sullivan, Dalvin Cook. Wes Phillips on the matter, he said, quote, "We definitely have to take the conditions into account, and we have to be professional about whatever the environment we're playing in. The margin for error in this league is small." I assume you're talking about guys slipping on the ground. It was noticeable that it happened with us and it didn't happen with them. It was something that was addressed, but guys got to understand the margin for error is so small. It can't be like, oh, I'll get it next time. You don't know how many times you're going to have that play to change a game or continue a drive. We have to be professional about it. Whether it's technique at times, you cut off the wrong foot on any surface, you're going to fall down, but it was noticeable. It has been addressed prior to the game and post-game. We've got to be better there. So this isn't a conspiracy theory that, okay, staff members at Lambeau decided to put a couple of extra buckets of water on the field. No, this is on the players. The Packers players, they played on the same field as the Vikings did on Sunday. They didn't slip, but Vikings players did. And if you want to argue maybe the coaching staff could have done more, Ed Werder of ESPN, he covers the Dallas Cowboys, he tweeted out, quote, "Mike McCarthy, who coached the Packers for 13 seasons, encouraged his Cowboys players to wear 7-stud cleats when they played at Lambeau earlier this season and had been used in practices 10 days before to increase comfort." Now, in Phillips' defense, he did say we addressed this prior to the game, didn't specifically state how, but we don't need to know how. The main thing that's most important is that the coaching staff brought this to the attention of the players. Hey man, 7-stud cleats for this game, let's get after it. Instead, the players said, nah, we're fine, we're going to do our own thing. It's not on the coaching staff, it's on the players. Y'all some grown-ass men. You really need to have your hands held to do what's recommended for you to do at your high-paying jobs. Playing football at the highest level, dudes on the outside would do anything to be in your position. And for the offensive coordinator to come out and publicly state, we have to be professional here, that's embarrassing. If you play sports, the universal code, no matter what sport you play, is you listen to your coaches, no matter how ridiculous that you may think they sound. Circus music. And for Vikings right tackle Brian O'Neill, the thought was with the calf injury and going on IR likely ends his season. That is, unless if Minnesota got to the Super Bowl, maybe there's a chance he returns. Now turns out he suffered a partially torn Achilles. He'll have to undergo surgery, so for sure now, 2022, his season is over with. Although head coach Kevin O'Connell, he expressed optimism that perhaps O'Neill could be ready for the start of 23. And speaking of optimism, KOC said that offensive tackle Blake Brandel, who's been recovering from a torn MCL suffered earlier this season, there's a chance that maybe he could return to action for the playoffs. That would be huge because at right tackle, you've got Oli Udoh starting. Maybe Bobby Evans, who you just signed to the practice squad, maybe he gets elevated to the 53 to be a backup. But if you've got Blake Brandel available, that would be a major boost. I don't know if throwing him to the Wolves right away to start at right tackle, I don't know if that would be the smart thing to do. But if Udoh were to struggle, or God, hopefully not, but at left tackle, if Christian Darrisaw were to get hurt, you certainly don't want to see that. A healthy Blake Brandel, one would think, would at least soften the blow. Meanwhile, Week 18, ending the regular season at Chicago, Bears quarterback Justin Fields ruled out for Sunday's game against the Vikings due to a hip injury. Starting in place of Fields is Nathan Peterman, in which case, when I saw that for the first time, I said, wait, he's still in the league? Because for his career, a 52.5% completion rate, 3 touchdowns to 13 interceptions, that Nathan Peterman? One would think, no disrespect, but this is nothing. You really don't need to play your starters here, which even if you were to go up against a healthy Justin Fields, you still don't because the Vikings are virtually locked in for the 3 seed in the postseason. Health has to be the priority in this one. However, the off chance that San Francisco were to lose to Arizona, you pull out this win, then okay, you've got at least 2 home games in the playoffs if you win the wild card round. The only thing is, will the curse of facing backup quarterbacks continue for this team? They have the tendency to go off against Vikings defenses. We'll see. Xavier Rhodes, remember him? 2017 shutdown corner. Rhodes closed yesterday, was released by the Buffalo Bills, spent time between the practice squad and the 53-man roster. 2 games in Buffalo, allowed a 71% completion rate. Okay, let's get this out the way. Player gets cut, and he's a former Vikings player. Oh my God, should we bring him home? No, we shouldn't. He's an outside corner. You already have Patrick Peterson and Duke Shelley, who, by the way, Shelley on the Vikings depth chart is now a starter ahead of a healthy Cam Dantzler. And even with a Caleb Evans on IR, you still have Chris Boyd for emergencies, all of which I would take ahead of Xavier Rhodes at this stage in his career. Now, if he could play slot, that'd be something different. But to do that, you have to be quick both in movement and in processing. And that's not Xavier Rhodes right now. It'd be a nice story, but beyond that, in terms of football, it wouldn't make much sense. Sidebar here. After 3 catches on 3 targets, 89 yards and a touchdown, 3 first downs on Sunday, should Jalen Nailor get more PT? I think he should. And yes, I understand before he scored, Packers, they were up 41-3. Defense probably took their foot off the gas. I get it. However, consider this. Adam Thielen, he has been healthy this season. He has played in every game up to this point. If you were to know that before the season started, at least I would say to myself, oh, bet. With Justin Jefferson too, it's about to be the takeover, baby. The most games he's played since 2018, but 44 yards per game, lowest in 3 years. 5 touchdowns on the year, half of what he got last year when he played in 4 fewer games. Unfortunately, he's just not the same guy. So at receiver, you've got Justin Jefferson, who's a god amongst men. You've got Jalen Reagor, who can't be trusted. KJ Osborne, who's good for a couple of nice plays a game, and that's where it ends. You need another playmaker, a wide receiver playmaker who can take advantage when defenses lock in on 18 and at times TJ Hawkinson. Give Jalen Nailor a chance. You literally have nothing to lose.